I'm not gonna lie, this is heartbreaking. It's really sad, and I know some of y'all might be looking at this and saying, Lego, what are you talking about? Why are you reusing video ideas that you have had already? And I get it. You know, just a few days ago, we made a video on this YouTube channel talking about Montreal's heartbreaking loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. And that was a heartbreak in and of itself. The Habs clawed back from down 3-0, they got the lead, and they lost. Man, that sucks. But I feel like this story right here, this update that we had seen yesterday, is even more of a heartbreaker. It's even more of a kick to the gonads. It's even more of a tear-jerking situation for the Montreal Canadiens. So what exactly are we talking about here? Well, last night, the Montreal Canadiens lost in a game to the New Jersey Devils. 4-3 in overtime. And look, we're not going to comment too much about the game. I'm happy because Jack Hughes is on my fantasy team and he had a bunch of points here. But aside from that, this was a pretty interesting game because Montreal finally, okay, maybe I say finally, that's not a good thing to say in this situation. The Montreal Canadiens finally didn't win a Jakub Dobes game. You can see Dobes right here. 28 shots against, 24 saves on the night, an .857 save percentage. Not particularly fantastic, but the fact that he was undefeated in both the preseason and the regular season before this game was significant. Montreal had 19 shots versus New Jersey's 28, and the Habs spent a good chunk of this game on the penalty kill. There were a number of goals that you can say Jakub Dobes probably should have had, but goals that were like, okay, well, you're going to let in some, right? You can't be perfect every single night. You can't go undefeated every single night, right? Well, the heartbreaking thing comes when you look at Jakub Dobes' post-game media availability. And I'm going to leave a link in the description to this video posted by Priyanta Emrith on Twitter that dives into what exactly it is Dobes is talking about after the game concludes. You can see he's just kind of normal at this stage of the interview. But as it goes on, as he continues talking about the loss, you can see him getting more and more emotional, and inevitably he starts tearing up. He has to wipe away his tears, and it gets to a point where he even says in the clip, oh, 6-0-0 is not good enough. 6 straight, that's not good enough. We could have won the game, but I needed to be better. I lost this team the chance to win. And I'll give props to the folks who were interviewing Jakub Dobes in this video clip. I'm not going to play it, it's copyrighted material, whatever, but like, you can hear the reporters in the clip. They do try to build Dobes up. They do tell him, like, hey, this is a game that you gotta bounce back from, right? They give him a layup. They straight up say, yeah, okay, well, you can feel sad about it, but you just gotta bounce back, right? And then they give him the microphone, and he's like, no, 6-0, it's not good enough, and then he starts tearing up, and it's really emotional. I'd highly recommend you go out there and watch this yourself, and Dobes ends up cutting the interview short afterwards. He kind of signals to the guy off to the side, like, yeah, I'm kind of done, I don't want to answer more questions. And here's a tweet that dives into what exactly happened. It's Mike Montreal, who went out there and said this: I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but Montreal rookie goalie Jakub Dobes, who entered the game 6-0-0, was literally in tears, blaming himself for the Canadiens' loss. We, the media, we tried to console him, telling him to keep his head up. The kid is putting so much pressure on himself. And this is one of these things where if you look at the tweet as well, you can see some of these replies. He definitely cares. That's good for our future. It's hard to watch this. The kid cares a lot, but he also knows that he needs to be perfect to get a sniff of that #1 role. The coach basically said so the other day. And this is a pretty... I don't know what I want to say about that. It's a pretty sad reaction to the situation here, because I feel like when it comes to Jakub Dobes, there was always this understanding that he was the number 2. Sami Montembeault has gotten off to a really difficult start, and Dobes has been great, which is partly why he's being given the important games against teams like New Jersey, total powerhouse in the NHL, one of the best. Under normal circumstances, you'd play your starting goaltender in a game like this, but obviously Jakub Dobes is technically not the starter. He started out the year 6-0-0, and we had this goalie controversy narrative popping up with Habs fans that, yeah, the team is really getting a boost out of Jakub Dobes and his goaltending. But this is what happens when he loses the first game of the year. He ends up in tears during the media availability. And it's one of these things where I think it's totally cool to see how much he cares, but at the same time, it's like, I can't help but be a little bit worried, you know? Like, is this a symptom of what could be to come if Jakub Dobes goes down a losing streak, or if he gets into his own head a little bit? Because obviously he lost one game. This is the first game he's lost this year. He's been really good, and even in this game against New Jersey, he wasn't perfect, but he did his part. The Montreal Canadiens didn't get too many shots, and they were on the PK a bunch, so it was a difficult game to win. It's so intriguing to try to analyze what could happen afterwards with this response over here. Let's go out there and read some of the comments. I respect a competitive drive, but also, it's not going to be healthy for him long term if he beats himself up over so many losses, especially when they still got a loser point. Another reply says, yeah, I always thought that was one of the major things that hurt Jack Campbell. The self-flagellating after games was just a bit too much. You're going to lose a certain number of games. It doesn't make anything better to act like it's the end of the world. In fact, it makes people lose confidence. After losses, you have to stay focused. And I think that is probably the best thing that you can look at in regards to Jakub Dobes, that this is a situation that he will have to pay attention to and catch before it gets too out of hand, because emotional responses to games, obviously, that's fine. Hockey is an emotional sport at the end of the day, but he's still been doing okay. I mean, look at the numbers. .920 save percentage, .225 goals against. He's literally got a point in every single game he has had this season. Jakub Dobes is fine, but to see an emotional reaction like that, it does get me worried as to what this guy's mental is going to be as he continues to play more games, because he's not going to go undefeated the whole year. As much as Canadiens fans would like to see that, it's not going to happen, right? But we still have to support this guy and just let him know he is a very valued piece of the puzzle, and even if he doesn't win a game, it's not like he is useless or whatever. I mean, he pretty much says that, oh, it's all on me, has to be better, I have to be better, 6-0 is not good enough. That's really sad. Here's another reply that I thought was really interesting. This is from the subreddit. Pasta Riot went out there and said this: kudos to the reporter for being supportive. I don't think we realize what being constantly overlooked from the age of 15, despite a ton of talent and determination, does to a guy. He's trying to prove everyone wrong and is so tough on himself. Even now, convincing people that he's number 1 goalie material. After a bad game, it might feel like he's back on ground zero. Also, I don't know if he was playing the whole game, but what? 3 to 4 goals were due to abysmal turnovers. Exactly, even the reporters were trying to comfort him. You see how young these guys are in vulnerable moments like this. And I guess, for the people in the back, this is why you don't boo your own goalies. Cough, cough, Sami Montembeault. But with all that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the emotional Jakub Dobes response to yesterday's game, and just how heartbreaking it is to see a young guy go through this sort of emotional turmoil, even though I think a lot of Canadiens fans would probably say the game wasn't his fault. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm going to leave a link in the description to Priyanka Emmert's tweet that has the video, because it's very worth the watch. I hope you enjoyed. Do I hope you enjoyed this video? I honestly don't know. But either way. And bye.